You know the feeling? You open an app, you tap a glowing piece of glass a few times, and like 30 minutes later, a hot burrito just magically materializes on your front porch.
It really is a magic trick, isn't it?
It absolutely is. And as consumers, we absolutely love the trick. But today, we're doing a deep dive to tear down the curtain and look at the massive, the invisible logistical machine that is actually making that trick happen.
Right, because behind that screen, there is an entire infrastructure that is just rapidly evolving.
Evolving to read your behaviors, algorithmically price your cravings, and honestly, engineer human beings entirely out of the equation. And our mission today, based on a massive stack of 2026 industry reports, is to unpack the major forces reshaping everything from the kitchen to your actual front door.
Yeah, and the sheer scale of that invisible machine is, well, it's really difficult to overstate. When we look at the 2026 industry projections, these from Statista, the online food delivery market isn't just some niche convenience sector anymore.
Right, it's huge.
It is a macroeconomic pillar. We are looking at a space that is projected to hit 1.51 trillion US dollars in revenue this very year.
Wait, trillion?
Trillion with a T.
Wow.
And it doesn't stop there. The forecast for 2029 pushes that number up to $1.85 trillion.
$1 trillion machine just to bring us dinner. I mean, to ground a number that massive in some relatable reality, let's look at what is actually moving through that pipeline.
Good idea.
According to recent Grubhub data, the absolute highest volume items moving across the United States right now are burritos and burrito bowls.
Makes sense. Tacos, quesadillas, and French fries follow right behind that, I believe.
Exactly. But the data point that really caught my eye, the one that just stopped me in my tracks, came from DoorDash. Between 2023 and 2024, orders for boba tea saw an almost 1,500% increase.
Which is just wild. But, that boba tea metric is actually the perfect proof of concept for modern delivery logistics.
How do you mean? Because it's a trendy drink.
Well, no. A 1,500% spike is not merely a sudden shift in cultural taste. It demonstrates a profound leap in infrastructural capability. Think about it. Boba is highly perishable. It's temperature sensitive, and structurally, it's incredibly fragile.
Oh, right. It's literally a cup of liquid and ice with a plastic seal.
Exactly. The fact that a network can reliably dispatch a driver, route them through, unpredictable urban traffic, and deliver a cup of ice and tapioca pearls before it melts or spills, that proves the sheer thermal and temporal efficiency of the underlying routing algorithms.
It essentially proves the system can handle anything. It's like pulling a magical lever. We just tap a screen and a burrito appears, and we never think about the massive gears whirring behind the scenes.
Most people definitely don't.
But to understand where this trillion-dollar industry is headed, we have to start at the physical origin point of the food itself. Because the traditional model, a restaurant with a neon sign, a nice dining room, and a dedicated delivery driver waiting by the register, that is quietly being dismantled.
Yeah, we are seeing the really aggressive expansion of what the industry calls cloud kitchens or ghost kitchens.
Those kitchens.
These are highly optimized, purely commercial cooking facilities, and they operate completely independently of a traditional storefront.
So no foot traffic.
Right. You won't find them on a main street corner. They are tucked away in industrial parks or like unmarked alleyways. There are no tables, no hosts, no public ambiance whatsoever.
Just a kitchen.
Just a kitchen. Companies like Kitchen United, Cloud Kitchens, and Ghost Kitchen brands are really leading this architectural shift. They focus exclusively on fulfilling digital delivery orders.
It is essentially a web server, but for food.
That's a great analogy, actually.
Right. I mean, when you browse a website, you don't care if the physical server hosting it is sitting in some heavily air-conditioned warehouse in Nevada, just as long as the page loads instantly.
Exactly.
For the modern diner, you don't care if your burrito was cooked in a windowless industrial park 2 miles away, as long as it arrives hot.
And the unit economics of that server farm model, as you called it, are incredibly compelling for the restaurant industry. By stripping away the dining room, operators bypass premium real estate costs. They bypass front-of-house staffing wages, interior design expenditures, all of it.
It's just pure output.
Yes. Furthermore, these facilities frequently employ a multi-brand strategy. So a single commercial kitchen space can simultaneously operate 5 or 6 completely different virtual restaurant menus on an app.
Oh, wow. So the burger place and the taco place on my app might be the exact same chef in the exact same warehouse.
Very likely. And the strategy has proven so remarkably effective that even legacy giants, like McDonald's, are now deploying cloud kitchens in heavily congested urban markets.
Wait, really? McDonald's is doing ghost kitchens?
Yeah, simply to offload their digital delivery volume. It prevents their physical drive thrusts from just completely collapsing under the weight of app orders.
That makes total sense. But cooking the food is really only half the equation here. That hot bag still has to cross the physical distance between the industrial park and your living room.
That's the tricky part.
And because these cloud kitchens don't employ dedicated delivery staff, they tap into the ultimate elastic resource, which is crowdsourced delivery.
Right. Platforms like Uber Eats, DoorDash, and Amazon Flex have completely decoupled the labor of delivery from the restaurant itself.
They just use an army of independent contractors, right? People driving their own personal vehicles.
Exactly. And from a sheer operations standpoint, this solves the absolute hardest problem in the restaurant business, which is fixed labor costs during slow hours.
Because you aren't paying someone to just stand around.
Right. The platforms don't pay drivers an hourly wage to sit in a parking lot on a slow Tuesday afternoon. Instead, they use dynamic algorithms to instantly summon thousands of drivers to a specific zip code during a sudden thunderstorm or, a major sporting event.
Okay, I have to push back on the long-term viability of this strategy, though.
Okay, let's hear it.
Think about the psychological mechanics of the traditional restaurant industry. You walk through the doors, the lighting is carefully designed, the staff, maybe they remember your usual order. The music sets a mood.
Sure, the ambiance.
Right. That physical environment is how a business builds genuine, lasting brand loyalty. If a restaurant removes its physical storefront entirely, outsources the cooking to a shared warehouse, and then relies on a random crowdsourced driver in a Honda Civic to execute the final handoff, I mean, how do you possibly build genuine brand loyalty?
Well, the battleground for consumer loyalty hasn't disappeared. It has simply migrated
Migrated where?
to your house.
Okay.
Because the dining room is gone, the entire weight of the brand experience now rests squarely on what happens at the customer's front door and inside their own kitchen.
Oh, interesting.
The unboxing experience, the quality of the thermal packaging, the reliability of the drop-off, that is the new ambiance.
Which explains the permanent entrenchment of contactless delivery. The industry reports we looked at note that almost 90% of U.S. customers have heavily adopted contactless methods.
90% is a massive baseline.
It is. What began in 2020 as a strictly biological safety protocol, keeping your distance, has just hardened into a core consumer preference.
It completely rewrote the psychological baseline of the transaction. Drop-off services, pre-arranged pickup zones, secure automated lockers. These are now the standard operating procedure for every major player. From Grubhub to brand-specific ecosystems like Chipotle and Pizza Hut.
People just don't want to talk to anyone.
The data indicates exactly that. Consumers no longer view a friendly face-to-face interaction at the door as good customer service. They view it as unnecessary friction. The ideal transaction is now entirely invisible.
Just food appearing like magic, and that desire to curate a highly controlled, friction-free culinary experience within the home, it actually goes beyond just dropping off hot meals.
Oh, absolutely.
It is fueling a massive parallel market, meal kit delivery. We are talking about heavyweights like HelloFresh, Blue Apron, Home Chef, Sunbasket.
Yes.
The projections have the U.S. meal kit market hitting a staggering $28.5 billion by 2033.
And meal kits address an entirely different set of logistical pain points. While hot delivery is all about immediate, impulse-driven convenience, the subscription meal kit targets the structural inefficiencies of domestic life.
What do you mean by structural inefficiencies?
Well, the traditional model of grocery shopping is wildly inefficient. A supermarket stocks massive surpluses of perishable goods, right? Which leads to incredibly high margin loss through spoilage.
Things just going bad on the shelf.
Exactly. By utilizing a subscription model, meal kit companies can use predictive data to essentially reverse engineer their supply chains.
Because they know exactly what people ordered for next week.
Right. They purchase the exact tonnage of produce required for the week's orders, they portion everything down to the exact ounce, and they ship it. This practically eliminates the 30% food waste margin that plagues traditional grocers.
It also solves a fundamental psychological problem for the consumer, I think.
How so?
Well, I was thinking about this. The multi-billion-dollar success of meal kits suggests that people don't actually hate the physical act of cooking. I mean, sautéing onions or searing a steak, that can actually be a great way to decompress after work.
That's very true.
What people actually despise is the cognitive load of domestic logistics. The meal planning, The Tuesday night grocery run, standing there staring at an open fridge trying to figure out what to do with a leftover half bunch of cilantro before it turns to mush.
It's exhausting.
It really is. Meal kits isolate the rewarding part of cooking and completely outsource the tedious supply chain management.
They absolutely remove the cognitive friction. But here's the wall that both meal kits and hot food delivery eventually hit. They are still entirely dependent on the physical realities of human labor.
Right.
Even if you optimize the app interface flawlessly and you perfectly portion the ingredients, human drivers still get stuck in rush hour traffic.
They still get flat tires.
They get flat tires, they occasionally misread a house number. To actually break the speed limit of modern delivery and drive marginal costs down to practically zero, the industry realizes it has to engineer the human out of the equation completely.
Welcome to the autonomous horizon.
Yes.
The 2026 data shows tech companies deploying just massive capital into futuristic hardware. The goal isn't just to help the delivery driver, it's to replace the driver entirely.
We are seeing major moves in self-driving delivery. A company called Nuro, for example, restarted their expansion in 2024.
They make those little pods, right?
Yes, completely driverless, custom-built delivery pods operating on public roads in places like Palo Alto, Mountain View, and Houston. They are even licensing their proprietary NeuroDriver AI technology to other manufacturers to, accelerate the rollout of autonomous fleets.
Which is a profound shift in the physical footprint of delivery. I mean, moving a 3,000-pound internal combustion engine vehicle across town just to transport a 2-pound burrito, it's an objective misallocation of energy.
Oh, completely.
Autonomous hardware solves this. Whether it's Neuro's road-based pods or those smaller, cooler-sized sidewalk robots you see from companies like Starship Technologies.
The ones all over college campuses.
Exactly. Those electric units shrink the energy requirement drastically. And then, of course, there's the airspace.
Right, drone delivery.
Drone delivery is heavily featured across these market reports. Domino's, Uber Eats, Flytrex, they're all actively testing and deploying drones. The appeal is mathematically obvious. You maximize speed by simply flying over the traffic grid, and the fuel expense of an electric drone is practically zero compared to filling up a gas tank.
The airspace is wide open, sure, but the last 50 feet of drone delivery remained one of the hardest mathematical and logistical problems in the entire industry.
Why is the last 50 feet so hard?
Well, flying 2 miles to the open sky is relatively simple for an automated system. But lowering a package into a suburban backyard involves navigating strict FAA aviation regulations, highly unpredictable weather conditions, tree branches, power lines.
Ah, right. The real world gets in the way.
Exactly. And the very real threat of package theft the second the food touches the ground.
Okay, I am looking at the business logic behind all this hardware, and something doesn't add up for me.
What's up?
Earlier, we established that crowdsourced human delivery is incredibly advantageous for these platforms. It is purely an operational expense. They don't buy the cars, they don't pay for gas, they don't provide health insurance.
True.
If gig labor is so incredibly cheap and flexible for the companies, why are they burning billions of dollars in R&D capital on highly expensive, heavily regulated robotics? Is this actually about solving a logistical bottleneck, or is it just a shiny sci-fi PR stunt to convince Wall Street they are innovative tech companies?
It's a fair question, but it's really the ultimate tension between short-term flexibility and long-term scalability. Crowdsourced labor is cheap right now, yes, but it is highly volatile.
Volatile how?
Platforms are constantly fighting regulatory battles over minimum wage classifications, gig worker rights, unionization pushes. Furthermore, a human workforce requires constant algorithmic gamification to maintain supply.
You have to keep them engaged with the app.
Right. A robot, conversely, requires a massive initial capital expenditure to build. But once it is on the road, its operational cost per mile is fractions of a penny.
Wow.
It never asks for a tip, it never unionizes, and it works 24 hours a day. The billions spent on R&D are a calculated bet to achieve total fixed-cost logistical control over the entire supply chain.
That is fascinating. But regardless of the hardware, whether your fries are being driven by a gig worker in a sedan, dropped out of the sky by a drone, or rolled up your driveway by a 6-wheeled robot, every single piece of that infrastructure requires a central intelligence to manage the flow.
Yes, the brain of the operation.
Which brings us to the most powerful and arguably the most controversial market force governing the industry today: AI-powered dynamic pricing.
This is the algorithmic architect of the ecosystem. Dynamic pricing is the mechanism where artificial intelligence systems constantly ingest real-time data to automatically alter delivery fees and sometimes even specific menu prices minute by minute.
The variables these systems are tracking are just wild. The AI is actively monitoring the local weather via APIs. It's watching the current density of traffic on main arteries, the exact number of drivers currently logged into the app within a specific radius.
It tracks the ticket times inside a specific restaurant's kitchen, too.
Yes. And the overall volume of orders hitting the servers at any given second.
And it has to monitor all of those variables because it is managing a multi-sided marketplace in real time. Because the platforms rely on an independent workforce that they cannot legally force to work, their only tool for managing supply is algorithmic motivation.
Money, basically.
Exactly. When a thunderstorm hits and order volume spikes, the AI instantly raises the delivery fees. Platforms like DoorDash utilize Peak Pay, and Instacart uses Busy Pay.
Right.
These algorithms allocate those increased fees to boost driver earnings, sometimes by up to 27%, which is the exact financial incentive required to convince a gig worker to get off their couch and drive in the rain.
The market reports highlight a massive problem with this, though. It triggers an immediate psychological rejection from the consumer.
Nobody likes surge pricing.
No, we are socially conditioned to accept variable pricing when we, say, book an airline ticket or a hotel room. But usually that's because we are making those purchases months in advance.
Right, there's planning involved.
Applying that same high-stress, volatile pricing model to a Tuesday night cheeseburger order, it just violates a core consumer expectation. When people are hungry, they aren't looking to play the commodities market.
They definitely aren't. And the market backlash is very well documented in our sources. The report specifically analyzed the massive public relations disaster Wendy's faced recently.
Oh, I remember this.
Yeah, when the company announced plans to roll out AI-powered digital menu boards that would fluctuate prices based on demand and time of day, the consumer outrage was instantaneous.
People were furious.
The public immediately labeled it surge pricing for burgers, and the criticism was so severe that Wendy's had to rapidly walk back the messaging. It proved that if a pricing algorithm lacks total transparency, it will instantly destroy decades of brand trust.
And it isn't just angry tweets either. Regulators are actively stepping in to build guardrails around these algorithms. Our 2026 sources point to a major legislative milestone on this front.
Yes, the new legislation.
In April of 2026, the state of Maryland passed the Protection from Predatory Pricing Act. It is the first U.S. state law of its kind, and it officially takes effect on October 1st, 2026.
And the text of the legislation makes a really crucial distinction. It is specifically targeting what it defines as surveillance pricing.
Surveillance pricing.
Right. This is the practice where an algorithm alters the price of a good based on a user's personally identifiable information. So leveraging their past browsing history, their known income bracket, or their historical purchasing data to extract the maximum amount they are individually willing to pay.
So pricing the burger based on how much money the AI thinks I make.
Exactly. The new Maryland law forces food retail and delivery businesses to make their pricing algorithms totally transparent, ensuring they are only pricing based on broad environmental factors, like weather or traffic, and not personal surveillance data, or else they face severe legal penalties.
So let's step back and look at the anatomy of this trillion-dollar machine. The journey of a simple food order today is just an absolute marvel of modern engineering. You tap your phone, and that signal might route to a windowless cloud kitchen tucked away in an industrial park.
Yep.
The price you pay for that convenience is calculated in milliseconds by an AI digesting weather patterns and local traffic density. And your meal arrives through an incredibly elastic network. Maybe in the hands of a gig worker responding to a surge pricing algorithm, or maybe lowered onto your lawn by an electric drone.
It is an ecosystem that has completely re-engineered the physical and economic reality of dining. So the next time you use one of these apps, recognize that you aren't just ordering dinner. You are interacting with a $1.5 trillion logistics network that is constantly learning, constantly optimizing, and literally reshaping the infrastructure of your city to remove every possible ounce of friction.
It is incredible. But as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final puzzle to mull over. We just discussed Maryland's new law, which outlaws surveillance pricing based on your personal data.
For privacy protection.
But think about the sheer predictive power of these algorithms. If an AI system is getting unimaginably good at perfectly matching prices to real-time environmental variables, I mean, if it knows the exact temperature outside, the exact supply of drivers, the exact workload of the kitchen, and the exact minute of the day,
Yeah.
Couldn't the AI effectively calculate the precise maximum amount you're willing to pay without ever actually needing to look at your personal data at all?
That is a really unsettling thought.
Right. The magical lever might just be reading your mind without ever checking your ID. Think about that the next time you order a burrito.